In a small, quiet town, there lived a young woman named Alice. Alice was often seen with a soft smile, but inside, she felt a storm of emotions. She struggled with stress and often felt unsure about her thoughts and feelings. Her days were busy, filled with work and small tasks. However, she felt unhappy. The stress at work made her feel tired. She had trouble making decisions and felt unsure of herself. One weekend, as she sat on her bed, Alice felt heavy with frustration. A sense of something missing filled her heart. While staring at the mess of her room, she realized that she needed a change. That night, Alice made a promise to herself. She wanted to take control of her emotions and find peace. The next day, she visited the town library. Alice hoped to find books that would help her. After looking at many covers, she found a bright blue book titled Emotional Intelligence for Everyone. With this book in her hands, hope sparked inside her. She sat down to read it. The first page spoke about self-awareness. The words made her think. Alice realized she was often unaware of how her feelings affected her actions. Alice learned about self-regulation, which means controlling emotions and reactions. She began practicing small ways to feel calm, like taking deep breaths when stress hit her. She learned to set boundaries to protect her time and energy. Remembering her friend's birthday, she decided not to agree to every plan. Saying no gently was hard for her, but she started to try. Each time she set a boundary, she felt a little lighter. Alice continued to read books and take notes. The new information made her excited about her journey. One day, Alice attended a workshop in her town. The speaker was cheerful and shared stories about resilience. This idea was new for her. The speaker explained that resilience is about bouncing back after hard times. Alice thought of all the times she felt down, and her heart filled with determination. She wanted to learn how to be strong. At the workshop, she met others who felt the same way. They shared their stories, and Alice felt a sense of connection for the first time. Talking with them made her realize she was not alone. With each day, Alice practiced what she learned. She wrote in a journal to express her thoughts. This helped her understand her feelings better. When she faced challenges, she tried to remember to be patient with herself. She started to notice when she felt overwhelmed and chose to step back. Alice began to celebrate small victories. Each time she learned something new, she felt a bit more powerful. Every change felt small, yet it added to her growth. As weeks passed, Alice saw improvement in her emotional health. She understood it was okay to feel bad sometimes. Learning to accept her emotions was part of her journey. Alice was becoming a quiet leader in her own life. Little by little, she was taking charge of her emotions and becoming the person she wanted to be. The power of emotional intelligence was beginning to shape her future, opening new paths for understanding and personal growth. As the weeks passed, Alice felt a mix of hope and worry. She was learning new skills, but some days were hard. One Thursday at work, everything changed. Alice's manager asked her to lead a team meeting. The words frightened her. She had never done this before. Her stomach filled with butterflies. Alice wanted to say no, but she remembered her promise to herself. She wanted to be stronger and more confident. On the day of the meeting, Alice arrived early. She sat at the long table, her heart racing. Her team members entered, talking and joking. Alice felt small as they settled in their chairs. She took a deep breath and reminded herself to stay calm. As she began to speak, her voice trembled. She could feel the stress creeping in. It felt hard to express her thoughts clearly. Several tense moments passed when someone asked a question she couldn't answer. The room grew quiet, and all eyes focused on her. Alice's face turned red. She felt frustration rise within her. In that moment, all her fears about her emotions came crashing back. She realized she was not ready for this. Panic washed over her, and she could feel a tear forming in her eye. She managed to finish the meeting, but it did not go as planned. Afterward, she sat alone at her desk, feeling defeated. Thoughts raced through her mind. Why can't I speak up? Why is this so hard? That day brought many feelings to the surface. Alice understood that her steps toward emotional intelligence were not enough yet. She felt tired of coming face to face with these challenges. At that moment, a thought struck her. This was a turning point. Alice realized she needed to change how she handled her emotions. She could not let fear control her anymore. She wanted to find real strength within herself. As soon as she got home, she sat down with her journal. Writing helped her breathe again. I can do this, she wrote. Today was hard, but it helped me see what I must change. Alice reflected on her feelings. She decided to face her fear of speaking in front of others. That night, her resolve grew strong. She wanted to improve for her own future. Over the next few days, Alice sought more advice and resources. She read articles about anxiety in the workplace and how to manage stress. She watched videos on communication skills and practiced in front of the mirror. Each small effort made her heart feel lighter. Instead of feeling defeated, she felt hope. Alice began to understand that every challenge was a stepping stone for growth, and she wanted to face them head-on. Alice's life continued, but she approached each day with renewed dedication. She talked to a friend who offered support, making it easier to discuss feelings. This connection helped her realize she was not alone. Together, they planned to practice public speaking at a local group. Eagerly, Alice signed up for the first session. With each small step, she learned to control her emotions instead of letting them control her. Alice began to see the quiet leader within her. Despite the setback, she embraced her journey, feeling more in control of her life and ready to rise above the obstacles ahead. After promising to change, Alice felt excited about her new journey. She understood that exploring emotional intelligence would help her grow. The next step was to learn how to be more self-aware. This was important for handling her emotions better. Alice dug out her journal and made a list of things to do. First, she planned to read more about emotional intelligence. The following weekend, Alice returned to the library. She spent hours searching for books about emotions and resilience. One book stood out to her, called Understanding Your Emotions. The bright cover and simple title caught her eye. As she read the first few pages, she felt a deep connection to the words. The book explained that self-awareness means knowing what we feel and why. It also shared that understanding emotions helps us make better choices. This idea made Alice excited. It felt like a beginning. As she read more, Alice learned about emotions and how they could change. The book shared stories of people who learned to handle their feelings. This made her believe she could do the same. She realized that when she understood her emotions, she could react calmly instead of letting fear take over. By the end of the week, Alice had filled pages of her journal. Each time she learned something new, she wrote down her thoughts. Later, Alice remembered the workshop her friend suggested. She immediately signed up for it. The workshop focused on self-awareness and offered simple practices to help understand emotions better. When the day arrived, Alice felt anxious, but she pushed through. The room was warm and welcoming. Other participants were eager to learn, just like her. The teacher began by explaining feelings and how they connect to our actions. One activity asked everyone to close their eyes. They were to think about a recent experience that made them feel strong emotions. Alice thought about her last meeting at work. She could feel her heart race as she remembered. The workshop taught her to identify feelings. This was new and empowering for Alice. After the activity, they shared their experiences. Listening to others made Alice realize she was not alone in feeling overwhelmed. Some people talked about fear, others shared sadness or anger. Hearing these stories gave her courage. Everyone's journey was different, but they all wanted to grow. Alice felt a warm sense of connection form among the group. During the workshop, Alice practiced self-reflection. When it was her turn to speak, she shared her journey and the struggles she faced. "It's hard for me to speak in front of others," she said, "but I want to get better." The group responded with encouragement, making her smile. They offered suggestions and shared their tips. This support felt priceless to Alice. Inside, she felt that she was taking steps to change her life. Each new idea added to her toolkit. She learned to check in with herself daily and to think about her feelings. Every night, she wrote in her journal. She discovered patterns in her emotions. Slowly, she started to see connections. This awareness helped her handle challenges better. With every small step, Alice realized the power of her emotions was becoming clearer. She was embracing the full journey toward becoming a quiet leader, understanding that emotional intelligence was a key to her success. Each lesson was a stepping stone to greater growth. As Alice continued her journey, she felt excited yet uncertain. She embraced new techniques to help her manage her emotions. Journaling became a daily habit, and she looked forward to writing her thoughts. Each night, she wrote about her feelings, goals, and dreams for the future. This helped her understand herself better. However, the process was not easy. Some days, her emotions felt too big. The joy of learning often mixed with moments of self-doubt. One afternoon, Alice faced a situation that tested her new skills. At work, a coworker named Jake was rather critical of her ideas. Alice had confidently shared her suggestions during a team meeting. Yet, Jake dismissed her thoughts quickly, making her feel small. In that moment, frustration rose inside her. She fought the urge to react angrily. Instead, she remembered her commitment to controlling her emotions. But it was hard. Alice felt tension in her chest and heat spreading across her face. Later that day, she took a walk to clear her mind. It was hard to ignore what Jake had said. She asked herself why it hurt so much. After a few minutes of walking, a thought struck her. She could choose how to respond to Jake's words. Although it was difficult, she remembered that everyone has different opinions. This thought helped her feel a little better. Back home, Alice sat down to write in her journal. "Why does feedback affect me so strongly?" she wrote. "I want to be confident, but I still doubt myself." Writing those words was a moment of honesty. Alice realized the journey to emotional intelligence included learning from hard moments. Growth did not always come easily. Sometimes it was painful. The next morning, she decided to try mindfulness. She had read about this technique in her book. Mindfulness is about being present and understanding your emotions. Alice found a quiet place, closed her eyes, and listened to her breath. At first, it was hard to focus. Thoughts about work and worry kept interrupting her. Still, she tried to stick with it. "Just feel the breath," she reminded herself. With practice, she began to feel calm. Even so, doubts crept in. Alice sometimes wondered if she truly had the ability to change. Each time she tried a new technique, she felt growth. But doubts always came back. "What if I fail?" she thought one night while journaling. Mixing feelings of hope and doubt made her journey confusing. Yet, she wrote through it. The act of writing always lifted her spirit. Alice continued to face ups and downs in her life. There were days of clarity when her new skills seemed to shine. But there were also days filled with frustration when she felt she was taking one step forward and two steps back. One Friday evening, she attended another workshop. This time, the topic was emotional regulation. Teachers shared stories of their challenges while learning. Hearing their struggles made Alice feel connected. As they spoke, Alice started to see her experiences reflected in their words. They also faced moments of doubt similar to hers. This realization gave her strength. Emergency days, challenging situations, and even emotional setbacks were all part of the journey. Each obstacle made lessons clearer. Alice left the workshop with hope in her heart. Understanding was building, but the road was not straight. She was on her way to becoming the quiet leader she envisioned, and that journey was worth every challenge. Alice's journey led her to an important moment at work. She had been assigned to lead a high-pressure project that would affect many people in her company. This project excited her, but also filled her with fear. All her feelings and doubts returned. As deadlines approached, Alice found herself under a lot of stress. She felt the old wave of panic wash over her. Instead of focusing on her plan, she felt her mind racing with worries. What if she failed? What if her team did not agree with her ideas? On the first day of the project, the team held their first meeting. Alice sat at the head of the table, stepping into her new role as the leader. Everyone was watching her closely. She took a deep breath and started to speak. At first, she felt confident. But as questions from her team came in, Alice began to feel overwhelmed again. One team member, Lisa, expressed her doubts about a new approach. "I don't think your idea will work, Alice," she said. The words hit Alice like a cold wave. She felt the frustration boil within her. Every instinct urged her to respond defensively. But Alice remembered her journey so far. She thought of all the lessons she learned about emotional intelligence. Alice needed to apply what she had practiced. Instead of reacting with anger, she decided to focus on empathy. "I appreciate your input, Lisa," Alice said calmly. "Can you share why you feel this way?" The room grew quiet. Alice's question surprised everyone. She took this moment to regain control of the conversation. Lisa explained her thoughts, and Alice listened closely. "I see where you are coming from," she replied. It felt good to validate Lisa's fears, yet a knot still twisted in her stomach. She feared that if they pushed forward with her idea, it might fail. Alice faced a choice: retreat back to old habits or keep fighting to be the leader she wanted to be. She realized that walking away from this challenge meant losing the chance to prove herself. This realization ignited a spark of determination. Instead of shutting down, she took charge of her emotion. "Let's work through this together," Alice proposed gently. "We can modify the plan based on your feedback. I want us to work as a team." Alice's words created a shift in the room. Her team began to open up, hesitant at first, then warming up to the idea of collaboration. They started discussing ideas and options, building on each other's thoughts. Working together began to feel natural. Alice actively listened, noted points on the whiteboard, and called everyone by name when they spoke. This connection grounded her during the meeting. As they worked, Alice felt a sense of peace growing within her. The weight of her emotions became lighter. It was not just about her leading. It was about everyone coming together to create something great. They spent 3 hours discussing and refining the project. Exhaustion hung in the air, but Alice felt proud. She had faced a significant emotional challenge and chose to respond differently. At the end of the meeting, Alice smiled at her team, her heart full of gratitude. "Thank you all for your honesty and teamwork," she said as the meeting ended. "I could not have done this without each of you." Her voice felt steady, and her eyes sparkled with excitement. Alice took a deep breath, proud of how she handled the pressure and her newfound skills. She realized that her journey toward emotional intelligence was guiding her toward becoming that quiet leader she dreamed to be. After the meeting, Alice felt a mix of relief and tension. She had handled the team dynamic well, but her fears quietly lingered. As they moved into the next phase of the project, the pressure began to rise again. The deadlines were approaching quickly, and the weight of expectations rested heavily on her shoulders. Day by day, the stress grew, testing the skills she had recently learned. One evening at home, Alice sat on her couch, feeling exhausted. She opened her journal, but the words wouldn't come. Instead of clarity, she felt anxiety swirl inside her. As darkness fell, her mind filled with worries. What if the project failed? What if her team blamed her? These thoughts made her heart race. She tried to breathe deeply, but felt stuck. It was hard to apply everything she learned when emotions hit so hard. The next day, Alice faced another meeting. As she entered the room, she noticed Jake, the coworker who questioned her before. His arms were crossed, and he seemed tense. Alice felt a wave of fear wash over her again. What if he criticized her ideas? "Stay calm," she whispered to herself, remembering to regulate her emotions. She wanted to show strength, not fear. As the meeting started, Jake spoke up again. "I think our plan might fail," he said bluntly. The old feeling of frustration came rushing back. Alice felt her stomach churn while her heart beat loudly in her ears. In an instant, the tension made her want to argue or shut down. But she remembered her goals. Today, she would practice empathy. It was important to understand his point of view. "Jake, I hear your concern," she said, steadying her voice. "Can you explain what worries you?" Jake hesitated, seeming surprised by her question. The pause felt heavy in the room. Alice breathed deeply, focusing on remaining calm. She knew she needed to listen more than anything else. "I just feel like there are many risks," he finally said. "We need to consider that." Alice nodded, understanding that risk weighed heavily on Jake's mind. Recognizing his perspective helped her step back from her own emotions. Instead of feeling angry, Alice felt compassion for Jake. "That makes sense," she said softly, "but I believe we can handle it together. Let's discuss how to lessen those risks." Alice's assertive communication surprised herself. She surprised the team too. People began to nod in agreement. They were looking for solutions, not just problems. As the discussion went on, Alice felt more confident. However, a sudden wave of fatigue hit as she struggled to balance everyone's ideas and her own fears. The pressure felt intense. "What if I lose control?" she thought, panic starting to creep in again. But recalling her recent learning about self-regulation steadied her. "I can do this," she reassured herself silently. "I can stay calm." Feeling empowered, Alice took another deep breath. Instead of shutting down or becoming defensive, she pointed to the parts of the project that worked. "Let's choose the best ideas from all of us," she said. By redirecting focus, she shifted the room's energy. Team members felt more relaxed, which eased the heavy atmosphere. With each passing minute, Alice realized she was not out of control. She was guiding the situation. Facing her fears sharpened her emotional skills further. By using empathy and calm communication, she turned the meeting into a productive discussion. Alice discovered the quiet leader inside her was not afraid of challenges. By navigating this difficult moment, she found strength in her emotional intelligence journey. As the meeting continued, Alice felt the atmosphere shift. The tension from before began to fade. Every time someone shared a concern, she welcomed it and responded peacefully. "Let's find a solution together," she kept saying. With each question, Alice applied the lessons she learned about emotional intelligence. This time, she felt calm and strong rather than anxious. The burden of fear lifted as her team engaged in a productive discussion. After a while, something wonderful happened. A team member named Carlos suggested an idea for tackling the project's biggest problem. "What if we work in smaller groups?" he asked. "This way, everyone can share their thoughts." Alice felt a wave of excitement as everyone nodded. Instead of feeling threatened, she was open to this change. This was a new decision that she might have feared in the past. Alice took a step back to think. This idea could reduce stress for the team. It also allowed for more voices to be heard, something she valued. "That's a fantastic idea, Carlos," Alice said with a smile. "Let's break into smaller groups this week and see how this works. I truly believe we can achieve more together this way." In that moment, she realized how much she had grown. Just weeks ago, the idea of teamwork made her feel uneasy. Now, she felt proud to embrace the team's input. She recognized that her emotional intelligence was impacting her journey. Instead of letting worries control her mind, she was learning to navigate through challenging moments. The energy in the room shifted completely as the team began to collaborate. They broke into smaller groups and brainstormed ideas. Alice felt happiness bubble inside her, watching them engage passionately. Laughter and discussion filled the space, and she felt the spark of creativity that had been missing. Every team member now contributed, sharing ideas freely. Together they worked as a cohesive unit. Feeling confident, Alice walked among the groups, listening and offering gentle guidance. She encouraged them to voice any issues they faced. Their faces lit up as they responded positively to her openness. For the first time, Alice felt like a true leader. The fear of failure faded, replaced with a sense of belonging. Through empathy and effective communication, she built a connection with her team that she had never thought possible. As the meeting wrapped up, the team felt energized. They promised to regroup the following week to share their progress. The excitement in the air was contagious. Alice looked around at her teammates, feeling grateful for their trust. She felt proud of what they accomplished together. This was more than just a project. It became a journey of teamwork and support. On her way home that evening, Alice reflected on everything that happened. Her heart swelled with pride. She had faced a major emotional challenge and chosen to handle it with understanding and strength. The past moments of fear and doubt transformed into confidence and joy. She was finally realizing that emotional intelligence was helping her grow, step by step. Alice smiled, knowing she had become the quiet leader she aspired to be. Today marked a turning point on her journey. She now understood that challenges were not just barriers, they were opportunities for growth. With every small change, she was taking control of her emotions and leading with confidence. The difference was truly making a positive impact. Alice was ready to embrace each new day as it came, knowing that she had the tools to navigate life's challenges. Following action, after the successful meeting, Alice took some time to reflect. She sat in her favorite chair and let out a deep breath. The stress of leading the project had turned into a feeling of joy. For the first time, she could see the real impact of her hard work and emotional growth. Alice thought about how far she had come. Just a few months ago, she struggled with her emotions every day. Now, she found strength and clarity in the challenges she faced. Writing in her journal became an important part of this reflection. Each evening, Alice looked back at her experiences. She wrote about the breakthroughs and the hard moments too. In her writing, she acknowledged the doubts she once felt. Those fears no longer held her back. Every page reminded her of her journey toward emotional intelligence. Reviewing her thoughts gave her a sense of pride in her progress. Alice focused on the times she managed her emotions well. She recalled the recent meeting with her team. Remembering how she used self-regulation filled her heart with warmth. Instead of losing her cool during challenges, she chose to listen and support her team. This was a big change for Alice. She had always felt overwhelmed by stress. Now, she was grateful that emotional intelligence made her resemble a leader. As the days turned into weeks, Alice noticed the positive effects of her journey spreading into her daily life. She felt more confident in social interactions. Simple conversations with friends became easier. Alice found joy in listening to others and sharing her thoughts freely. Her newly built connections felt richer than before. She could feel that her emotional awareness changed how others viewed her. Friendships became deeper, filled with understanding and empathy. Alice discovered another important lesson. Emotional intelligence is not only for work. It is essential in every part of life. While practicing her skills, She began to notice how emotions shaped her actions in different situations. When small things bothered her, she paused and reflected. Instead of reacting instantly, she recognized the power of choice. Understanding her feelings made her feel calm. One afternoon, Alice met her friend Ellen at a cafe. Ellen mentioned feeling stressed about a recent project at her job. In the past, Alice would have felt uncertain about how to help. But that day, she practiced empathy. "I understand how you feel, Ellen," she said kindly. "Do you want to talk about it?" They discussed ways to handle stress and brainstormed solutions. Alice realized this was a moment where her growth shined. Helping Ellen brought her joy. She felt empowered to support others while managing her feelings. Alice believed her journey is still unfolding. Every situation sharpening her understanding of emotional intelligence inspired her. As Alice prepared for the next steps in her life, she held on to her new lessons. The world felt brighter and full of opportunities. She understood her emotions and learned how to connect with those around her. With gratitude in her heart, Alice saw the transformation happening within herself. Each success made her stronger. Every day brought new chances to practice and grow. She was excited for what the future brought. This journey towards being a quiet leader was just beginning, and Alice felt ready to embrace every step ahead. Alice's journey of practicing emotional intelligence continued to flourish. Every day, she made a conscious effort to apply what she learned about self-awareness and emotional regulation. She understood that consistency was important for lasting change. It was no longer just a set of skills. It was becoming a meaningful part of her life. One morning, as desk calendars flipped to a new month, Alice decided to create a daily routine for herself. She wrote down her goals for each day and focused on how she felt. This habit made her more aware of her emotions. If she woke up feeling anxious, she would take a moment to reflect. "What is making me feel this way?" she would ask herself. This simple question worked like magic. It helped her understand the root of her feelings instead of pushing them away. At work, Alice continued to strengthen her ability to set boundaries. She realized how important it was to protect her time and energy. One Friday, a colleague asked her to stay late for a project deadline. In the past, she would have felt obligated and said yes. This time, she paused and looked inside her heart.